What's that? Oh, a streamer decided to lock his girlfriend outside in negative 5-degree weather because he was dared to do so? Tell me more. Yeah, you heard that right. This streamer from Russia decided to lock his girlfriend outside in negative 5-degree weather because people on his live stream were saying, yeah, I dare you to lock her out. It would be so funny. And unfortunately, she was only in just her underwear, and he decided to go ahead and get her out there and lock her out there. Now, this may be harmless if it was just for like a couple of seconds or something, but when it's negative 5-degree weather and you don't have even any socks on even, and now stuck out there for about an hour and you're just kicking and screaming on the door and you're not able to get inside until the moment where you don't hear that person anymore, and now he has to go out and bring her inside as she's unconscious. He thinks she's just being dramatic, so he puts her on the couch and leaves her there for about an hour until she's not being responsive at all at that point, so he decides he needs to go ahead and call an ambulance. At which point, when the paramedics got there, they did pronounce her dead on the scene. Okay.
People go through trauma. I truly believe that it can manifest evil, and I'm talking in a paranormal sense. And the story that I'm about to tell you is a very good example of that. And it is terrifying because these girls literally saw demons all over the place. So Tasha grew up with her sister in a really difficult household. Their father had passed away when they were younger, and then they moved around a lot, and they were just constantly put in very toxic situations. Because of this, her sister had developed depression, severe depression at a very young age, and Tasha was just very unhappy. 2008 to 2014, they lived with a family member. In 2014, they finally moved back in with their mother. Apparently, they weren't with their mother for a little bit. She didn't explain why. And for a while, things were okay. They were reconnecting and rebuilding their relationship with their mother, but their mother also had a boyfriend, and he drank a lot. He also cheated on her a lot and brought a lot of negativity into the house. And so the mother started to get cold and distant, and then her sister started to slip deeper into depression. Now, their grandmother also lived with them, and she worked nights and slept during the day, and she was a very religious woman. Grandma would talk a lot about how she saw spirits and how she was seeing the spirits of loved ones that had passed away. Now, her grandmother wasn't scared of these spirits because they were her loved ones, until one day she felt a spirit that did not feel like family. One night, her grandmother is sleeping in her room when suddenly she wakes up and she hears the bedroom door just opened by itself. And when she looked up, she saw something sitting on her bed. And it wasn't her mom, it wasn't her dad, it wasn't a family member. So she gets scared and she starts to pray, and she's rebuking whatever this thing is in the name of Jesus, when suddenly she starts to hear bang, 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 stomping all over the room. And then the door just opens and slams shut like something had bolted out of the room. Now, weeks turn into years when they are dealing with things constantly. They're dealing with cabinets opening and shutting by themselves, hearing whispers, seeing shadows all of the time, seeing entities all of the time, when things start to take an even more sinister turn. One night, Tasha's sister is laying in bed. She's asleep, and she wakes up in the middle of the night because she hears something in her closet. And she sits up a little bit. She looks into her closet, and there is a girl standing there. This girl has pale skin, long, dark, black hair, and black eyes, and she's just sitting in her closet staring at her. This scared Tasha's sister so badly that she was like, I'm never sleeping with the closet door open ever again. So she was like, I'm closing the door. So she closed the door. The next night, she falls asleep. She wakes up in the middle of the night because she hears creak. The closet door opened by itself. And inside the closet now, standing, is the same girl, staring into her soul this time. This scared her so badly, she was just laying there absolutely paralyzed. It was not sleep paralysis. She could not move just from pure fear. In fact, this scared her sister so badly that she actually passed out. So she literally passed out from fear. Now, for the next few weeks, their house started to pick up a little bit. They would hear these stomping sounds all over their house. Cabinets would open and close by themselves, knocking on the walls in threes, and then it got worse. Tasha, her mom, and her sister are in the living room one night watching TV when suddenly they hear a knocking noise coming from their grandmother's empty bedroom. So they go into the room to check it out. Nothing is in there. They go back, they sit down, they watch TV, they hear it again, that knocking sound. So they go check it out again. There's nothing in there. And at this point, they're like, we have no choice but to ignore this. Well, a few nights after this, Tasha's sister is laying in bed. It's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. She's passed out asleep. She wakes up in the middle of the night again because she thinks that she hears something. She looks in her closet. Nothing is in her closet, but then she realizes that something is right by her bed. That girl that she had been seeing with the pale skin and the long black hair is crouched down by her bed, staring at her, just looking up at her, crouching. And she's not smiling. She's not saying anything. She's just staring at her. She's absolutely frozen in fear. And the next day she is like, F this, I'm going to stay with a friend because I cannot take this anymore. And also her mom wanted her to stay with a friend too, because it was scaring her mom too. Everybody in the house knew that these things were happening because they were hearing it, but her sister was the only one seeing this demon girl. Well, after this incident, they actually decided to change houses because they thought that maybe it was the house and they couldn't take it anymore, so they moved. Unfortunately, this did not help at all. When they moved, the whole entire family started to see the same spirit that her sister was seeing. Now, she didn't go into detail about this part of it, which I'm going to ask her to do, but I just know that her family started to see the same spirit. And then it gets even scarier. In 2017, they moved to Virginia to go stay with their aunt, who had also been through a lot of trauma herself. In fact, her aunt's trauma was so bad that she told me that if she were to tell me what happened to her aunt, that I wouldn't even believe that she was still alive. Well, one night, Tasha, her sister, her aunt, and her neighbor are all sitting around in the living room and they're just talking when Tasha's aunt brings up the fact that there's something attached to her. And everybody is like, what are you talking about? And she's like, there's something attached to me. I can prove it to you. Aunt says, as soon as I start talking about it, it will make itself known. So she starts talking about it and the lights start flickering. And suddenly this big dark shadow just forms around her aunt. And everybody is like, what the hell is going on right now? Now, her aunt actually starts mocking this thing, like legit laughing and mocking, saying things like, you can't control me anymore. I'm stronger than you. And she said that she literally saw her aunt's, whatever it was that was behind her aunt, just shrink down and fade away. Almost like it knew it couldn't control her anymore. Their neighbor had no idea about anything else that was going on with the family, but the neighbor is Muslim apparently, and she thinks that she may be an empath because she then looks at Tasha's sister and she says, you know, your aunt isn't the only one with something following her. And Tasha's sister is like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you have something very dark attached to you. Her aunt at this point actually nods in agreement, like she knew. And so her neighbor was like, can I please pray over you? And her sister was like, yes. So they pray over her. Now, this unfortunately didn't work because her sister's mental health continued to decline. Now, one night, Tasha's aunt and her boyfriend are sitting in the living room when they hear something in the kitchen. This next part freaks me out so bad. They look over in the kitchen and they see that girl with dark brown hair, the one that her sister had been seeing, crouched on top of the kitchen counter, staring at them, just crouching, staring at them. As soon as they see this, her little cousin walks into the room, looks over into the kitchen, sees the same thing, and just starts screaming. Now, stuff like this would happen for a couple of years. Again, doors slamming, her sister seeing this girl everywhere. Her sister was constantly asking this girl to leave her alone. She wouldn't. A couple of years go by, and Tasha ends up moving out. So she moves out in 2020, and she didn't talk to her family for a while, but they did reconnect in 2021. But as soon as she started talking to her family, things started to happen at her house. Doors started opening and slamming by themselves. She would hear those knocking in threes. Crosses would be turned upside down in her house. And one day, Tasha walks into her house and she looks at the walls and the ceiling, and there are handprints and footprints like somebody had been walking up the wall and up to the ceiling. She had no choice but to ignore this. There was nothing that she could really do about it. So later on that night, she goes to lay in bed and her boyfriend is in the shower, and there was a curtain that was like right next to her window, and she's laying in bed and she looks over and the curtain just moves as if somebody had like grabbed it and like moved it sideways to look at her, but there was no one there. She obviously freaks out because of this, and her boyfriend comes running out of the bathroom and is like, what is wrong with you? And while the curtain is still moved like that, they look out the window and there's like a swing set outside of the window, and there's just a swing back and forth, just going back and forth by itself. No wind, nothing. Now, the scary thing about this story is that this stuff did not stop. So her sister still sees this girl to this day, not as often, but she does still see her and feel her, and her grandmother still hears spirits and sees spirits, and her mom is still going through stuff. So she didn't say whether she was, but the last thing that she said in the email was, I guess there's no ending to this story because it's still not over. What did you guys think about this story? I don't really have time to go into the commentary because I have to do the shout outs and we're at 8 minutes and 47 seconds, but I do definitely think that my opinion is that trauma can cause these things 100%, and I can say that from experience. So I'm so sorry that your family has been through all of this. I'm so sorry that you have been through all of this. I truly hope that you are okay. Thank you so much for choosing me to tell your story. And that's what I hope for you. I hope that you and your family are okay and that your sister gets better. Any thoughts, suggestions, or comments that you guys have, please drop them below. But please, as always, especially Be respectful. It's Shell Bish. You're so cute. I hope I said that correctly. You left such a nice comment, and then you sent me a picture of your dog, and I love that so much. What a cute dog you have. So cute. You guys are both my spooky babies. Thank you so much for being a part of my community. Thank you for being kind. Thank you for supporting me and watching my videos. I truly appreciate you, and I hope that you know that, and I wish I had more time to say more, but I hope you know I love you, girl. JohnnyQ.public. You left the cutest comment ever. Thank you so much. It was underneath Jason's video. You said that I was your horror crush. That was so cute. I love that so much. When I saw that, I just smiled. And thank you for everything that you said. You are so sweet. I really appreciate your kind words. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you for being a spooky baby. Thank you so much just for being here and watching my videos and supporting me. It truly means so much to me, and I hope that you know, like, I really do appreciate you and I love you. And guys, I do have to mention something. One of my friends is going through something really difficult. I met her on TikTok, and she is a really good person. I've known her for like a year, and her ex is doing some really awful things. He actually cut her water lines, and she hasn't been able to afford water for almost a year now. I am going to tag her in the description so that you get her video that she talks about this is pinned at the top of her page, and she has a GoFundMe. So if you guys want to go participate in the GoFundMe, or if you don't have the money for that, or you just don't want to, that's fine too, but just go to her page and maybe support her. That would be awesome. She's just trying to gather up enough money where she can turn her water back on. That's it. So that's really sad that that came to this and that this has happened to her. But like I said, her name is Shell, and I will tag her in the description. But other than that, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories and recommendations. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. And to all my spooky babies, spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
Y'all, I've told y'all some stories before, but this one, oh my God. You know what? I'm gonna make this one part. I was just gonna have to hear this. So there's this girl, and she told me this story from when she used to live in Haiti when she was younger. Her dad was in the US, but she used to live with her mom and her siblings in Haiti. And they had this neighbor, this lady, and she called her auntie because her and her mom were like really close. Like if she wanted to, she can sleep over her house to play with her kids. Like they were that close. And so one day she went over to their house to sleep over at her auntie's house. And, you know, she went over there, she was playing with her kids and everything. And then it was time for bed. And they were watching TV, waiting for themselves to fall asleep. And all of the other kids fell asleep except for her. Like, she couldn't sleep. And so she was just there watching TV. And at one point, she got thirsty. And at this point, she's thinking everybody is sleeping. So she goes to get her some water, and so she can go back to the living room. And since it was a sleepover, yes, they were sleeping in the living room. I used to do that too. We would all lay on the floor. It's so much more fun than you think. And so I don't know if you guys know, some of you guys may know, but the water is like the little packets of water. It's like a little plastic bag of water. So she goes to the kitchen, she goes to the cooler, she gets the water. And as she's about to go to the living room, she notices somebody standing in the doorway of her aunt's room. And she wasn't gonna really pay any mind to it because it's probably just her auntie, but it was just the way like the person was standing there. Eyes open, not blinking, staring into one corner of the house. And so she's like, "Hey, auntie, I thought you were sleeping." And she didn't respond. So she's like, "Auntie, are you okay?" And at this point, she starts to be spooked out. And so she's like, you know what? She's a Haitian girl that grew up in Haiti. She knows better. She's like, I'm not going to question anything. I'm just going to go back. And if anything, my house is right next door and I will go home. And as she's about to walk away, she hears this. Which translates to, they're coming. Tell your mom and dad that they're coming. Out of nowhere, she starts hearing drums to go along with what she's singing. She doesn't know where the drums are coming from. She just hears drums that's going along with her singing. And at this point, she's scared. Yeah, she's terrified. And before she knew it, she starts dancing. I mean like dancing. Like the whole Mama, papa, and she's like all over the kitchen, dancing. So she runs to wake up the kids. She wakes up the kids. She's like, oh my God, something is happening to your mom. I don't know what's happening. Something's happening. And so the kids get up and they see their mom in the kitchen and they didn't even budge. They were just like, oh, that's just Giddy. And they tell her, oh, that's just the Loa that possesses her sometimes. The Loa that she serves, she'll be fine. Let's just go back to bed. She's like, what do you mean? Do you not hear the drums? And they're like, yeah, I just told you that's the Loa. So you just gotta ignore it. Let her do what she does and it'll be over sooner than later. And she's like, actually, I think I'm gonna go home. The kids are like, oh my gosh, stop being such a scaredy cat. She's not gonna do anything to you. Let's just go back to sleep. And they leave and they go back to sleep. Except she couldn't go back to sleep after that. Especially while the drums are still going. She is still dancing. And she goes to the kitchen. And y'all, at this point, their mom is naked. Like completely naked. Like birthday suit naked. Dancing, singing. And at this point, she really wants to go home. But she wants to call her mom. But she doesn't have a phone. But her auntie has a phone. But she can't use her auntie's phone because her auntie currently is possessed by a Loa. And she is not allowed to go outside by herself, even if it's to go next door. It's nighttime. It's Haiti. Like, she knows better. The kids aren't listening to her. The kids are just like, it's normal. This is normal. Y'all, at this point, she's screaming, dancing, and y'all know what she does? She goes in the kitchen. She gets the hot sauce. And if you know, it ain't no little hot sauce you get from the corner store. This is Haitian made hot sauce that the peppers has been in that vinegar with the seasonings for months, probably. She gets the hot sauce. She sits on the floor. Mind you, she's butt naked. She opens her leg and she starts to pour the hot sauce on her vagina. Now, I have heard stories before when people catch Loa, they catch Gede, and they do that. Like, I've heard stories. My grandma has told me stories. I never actually saw it for myself with my own eyes. But when the girl told me that, I was like, oh my God, you experienced that? Like, I've heard stories, but I've never actually experienced it. This lady is pouring pure hot sauce on and in her vagina, y'all. And she doesn't feel a thing. She goes right back up to dancing like it was usual. And at this point, she said, fuck this, I'm going home. And so that's exactly what she did. She ran outside, she went next door, she was knocking on her barrière, which means her gate. And it took a while because there's the gate and then there's the actual house and the front door to the house. Her dad heard her knocking on the thing. He came out, opened the gate for her. She's terrified. She's crying. She's in tears at this point. And her dad is like, what happened? And she explained to her dad, like, what was happening. And her dad is like, oh, okay, well, let's just go to bed. We'll take care of this tomorrow. Come to find out, y'all, she does this all the time, for real, like the kid said. Even with the whole pouring the hot sauce on her vagina, she does this all the time. And she does not feel it after she does it, but she does feel it when the Loa leaves. When it's just her, she feels that burn. That infection came. But at the same time, it's not her that was doing it. She pays for the price afterwards. Sometimes she'll even go to the hospital because of how bad it gets. And for some reason, she wasn't allowed to go over there anymore. Every time she would ask questions, like to her parents would never give her an explanation. But they were still close, like they still spoke and everything. Their parents still spoke. She just wasn't allowed to go over there anymore. So I'm assuming she wasn't supposed to see that. And her parents knew dang well what that lady was up to and what she was doing. But yeah, y'all, oh my God. Like, I've heard stories about this before, but when she told me that, I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, there's people out there pouring hot sauce in their vagina. If you like this story and you have your own crazy ass story that you want me to tell, go on my Instagram, make sure you're following me, send me the story as a voice message, and don't forget to click the link in the bio and get my merch. And of course, thank you to the ones that already ordered. I love you guys' support. I'm gonna have better merch coming soon, but I just want to see how you guys do with this one first before I start giving y'all the good stuff.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I just saw a ghost. Normally, I'm reacting to other people that witness the paranormal, but lately it has been happening to me, and then on Monday, something very scary happened, and I am not okay. So I was in a pretty, kind of sketchy area, and I was walking towards the subway, and I saw a lady sitting on, a park bench, and I just saw her from the corner of my eye. She looked really pale, and then she had like a big like red mark on her face that I could see. So I turned and I looked at her. I looked away and I looked back, and it looked like she had a bullet shot right through her head. Immediately I knew that it was a ghost and that she was not alive, and she was just staring like she was not real. So I didn't want to like stop and freak out and bring attention to this matter, so I kind of played it off like I didn't see her, because what else do I do? Like, as soon as a ghost knows that you've seen them, like they know that they can come to you, right? Okay, like and follow for part 2.
Today's creepy, scary story time is about why you should not tell Randonautica to take you to something scary. So this story takes place in Mayfield, Kentucky in 2021 when Randonautica was really popular. So my follower, her ex-roommate, and her fiance at the time, so ex-fiance, decided to try Randonautica, and they set the intention for something scary. The thing that they got was a few blocks away, and so they decided to walk because she said that her ex-fiance had been drinking, the roommate didn't have a license, and my follower just did not like to drive. So they chose to walk because it wasn't that far anyway. So they walk and they get to this big mansion. It's a well-known mansion in that area. She said it has an upstairs like balcony and window, and it's on a giant piece of property. They get to the house and they don't want to walk on the property because she felt weird about that, which I understand that. I wouldn't want to walk on someone else's property either. She said it's like a long walk up to the house anyway, and they don't want to do that. So they're just standing there for like 5 minutes, and she's kind of like, okay, this was a waste of time. She also said that it's October and this specific mansion never decorates, which is important for the next thing. So they start to leave because, like I said, she was like, this is such a waste. This was so stupid. Nothing happened. We didn't find anything. And they start to walk away, and she looks up one more time at that window with the balcony and sees a woman in a what appears to be a wedding dress. She found it to be really odd because, again, they don't decorate or do anything creepy typically. So she was like, she showed her roommate and fiance at the time, and they all got really freaked out, but they were like, maybe they were just tired of us standing here in front of their house, and they decided to try and creep us out to get us to leave. And so they ended up leaving. Well, a few days later, they were like, let's just try again. So this time they set the intention for the word run. Now this time it was dark outside. It was about 10 or 11 p.m., but she said it wasn't a big deal because the location that it picked was only a few blocks away, and it was at a football stadium in an area where she was very familiar with because she did marching band there. Right next to it was the dog park, and right next to that was where her grandma works at the Senior Citizen Center. And so she was like, there's a lot of lights out there, so I didn't think that it would be that bad. And so they head over there. They get over there and they start walking through the grass, and this black car starts slowly like creeping near them. And immediately she's like, okay, I don't play about my safety. I have a pocket tool, a taser, and pepper spray. So this car keeps following them, so finally she stops and looks at the car and gives the "can I help you" kind of gesture. And this is when a man in his late 40s, early 50s rolls down his window and is trying to convince them to get in the car. She tells, her ex-fiance and her roommate, we need to go, like speed walk. Don't walk slow, and we don't need to go back the same way we came. We need to go another way. Let's try to get to this gas station. I think she said it's called Pockets gas station, so they can be around people, because right now they're alone out at nighttime and this is not a good situation. So they start rushing to this gas station, and they have to run down the highway for like quite a while, and they're on the right side, and they're like, okay, well, we're on the highway, we should be good because at least here there's cars passing by, and if we scream, I'm sure someone would notice, right? So like I said, they're on the right side of the road, and the gas station is going to be up there on the left side of the road. But they have to pass this trailer park. When they start to pass this trailer park, this beam of light starts blinding them. And so she tells them, like, stop, let me see what the hell this is. And so she, like, you know how you put your hand out and you try to cover the light so you can see the person behind the light that's blinding you? Well, it's creepy guy in the black car. So she tells them, run. This man starts yelling at them in Spanish, and he's shining the light on them, like spotlighting them while they're running down the highway. So they get all the way to the red light, and they said they didn't even wait for the light to turn. They just ran straight across the street, and there's a fence around the gas station, so you have to go like around another way to get in there. But they said they just had to jump the fence. They ran in the store, and the two ladies that were working there were asking like, "Are you guys okay?" And they're like, "No. There is a creepy man in a black car who is literally chasing us and has followed us all the way from the football field. Can you please call the cops if he pulls in here?" So sure enough, they see out the glass, here comes that black car pulling up to the gas pumps. So the ladies are like, "If he comes inside, we're gonna call the cops. Go hide in the bathroom." So they said they hid in the bathroom for like 20 minutes, and I guess he never even got out of the car. I mean, I personally think they should have still called the cops, but I guess they didn't. But she ended up calling her ex-fiance's mom to come and get them, and she said she will never ever play Randonautica again, that she's lived there since 2011, I think she said, and that she's never experienced someone so evil, that his eyes weren't even just brown, they were like black, and she could just feel his evil, bad intentions. But that she's never seen him or this car ever again. And it was just such an insane, horrifying experience. Be careful what you ask Randonautica to take you to.
The person who submitted the story is still haunted by this experience. I suggest that you stay until the end because it has a crazy twist. Robert had been a taxi driver for a few years. He would typically only work at night because the whole taxi thing was sort of like a side gig for him. One night, just like any normal night, he picked up a woman that was standing on the side of the road. This is not gonna go where you think it's gonna go. The woman sat in the back seat and she was super quiet and just kind of kept to herself. She gave him the address and he went ahead and headed to that destination. The whole drive there, the woman just kind of kept to herself, didn't really say much. Once Robert got to the destination, it was like a grocery store. The woman gets out, says thank you, and she walks off. As Robert's making his way back into the city to see who else he can pick up, he starts to hear the faint sounds of a baby crying. Robert pulls over to try to figure out where the crying baby's coming from. In his mind, he's thinking that maybe somebody left a baby abandoned like on the bushes somewhere, like on the side of the road. So he's like looking out the window trying to figure out where the sound is coming from, until he realizes that the sound is actually coming from inside his car, from the back seat. He quickly gets out, goes to the back seat and sees a box. It's like a very decent sized box wrapped in plastic. He is frantic, thinking that maybe somebody had wrapped a baby in a box and had left it in his back seat. He rips the box open when he sees it's a dead bird, like a dead, rotted bird. It was literally covered in maggots. He, of course, freaks out and throws the box, and then the crying stops. That whole experience completely freaked him out because he had no idea like what it even meant, that he decided to take a couple days off from driving his taxi at night. When he finally decided to go back to driving his taxi, one of his first customers was a mom and a baby. The baby was probably about 3 years old. From the moment the mom and the baby sat in the back seat, the baby started crying hysterically. It was almost as if he was like in pain. The mom couldn't even understand why he was crying so much. She kept apologizing and saying that he wasn't like this a minute ago. She doesn't understand why he's crying so much. And the baby just kept complaining, saying that he could see something on the floor, like at the floor of the car. He kept pointing down to the floor, saying that there was something really scary that was down there. Of course, when they were checking, look, there was nothing scary on the floor of the car, so they didn't understand why he kept crying. Finally, they got to the destination of where the woman was going. The woman gets out and the baby automatically stops crying the minute it gets out of the car. That definitely threw Robert off a little bit, but it wasn't until his next customer sat in the back seat. It was an older woman, probably like in her late 60s. The moment she sat in the back seat, she looked at Robert and said, "I don't know if you believe in any of this, but your car has very negative energy. Like, I can feel it." And she goes and shows him like her arm, and she's like, "Look, I have goosebumps. Like, your car has something really, really dark in it." She suggests for him to either get the car cleansed or to get rid of it altogether, because whatever dark energy was in that car wanted him. Being that the whole dead bird thing had just happened a couple days earlier, the crying baby, and now this woman telling him about the dark energy in his car, he took it seriously. After he dropped her off, he decided that he was done for the night. He says as he was driving home, he felt like at any moment he was gonna crash. Like, he can't explain it. He just feels like at any moment he was going to lose control of the car and he was going to crash. Thankfully, he made it home, but the next day he did go to a priest and tell them the situation. The priest went ahead and confirmed exactly what the lady had told him. The priest told him, you do in fact have a very dark entity in your car. So the priest went out there and started to spray holy water and started to like pray over the car. When they started to spray the holy water on the car, they could hear the crying baby. The baby crying came back. The more holy water they threw on the car, the louder and louder the crying got, but it never stopped. The priest then told Robert, listen, you're gonna have to just get rid of this car. Like, I was not able to get rid of whatever was in the car. You're gonna have to just get rid of it. Robert decided to take it to a junkyard and sold the car for parts. Like, he didn't want anyone else to ever drive it, so he just sold the parts of the car and was hoping that was going to be the end of it. Not long after he did that, he received a phone call from his ex-wife. She tells him, it doesn't matter that you got rid of the car. That thing is attached to you now. So essentially, they had gone to a very nasty divorce, and her retaliation was to send the first woman to do brujeria on him. That was a dead bird. That was something that was left there for him. Desperate, Robert decided to turn to the church again, and for months he prayed and confessed and worked with the priest, and they pretty much did anything they possibly could to try to get rid of whatever this thing was that was now attached to him. It was a really long process. Like, a lot of crazy dark things happened to him while he was trying to get rid of this thing, but eventually it did finally lift off of him. But even now, still now, this happened years ago, there are some nights where if he happens to be home alone, he can swear to hear the faint crying of that baby.
Can we show him the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
It went to both.
Yeah.
She makes like a creepy smile.
They were attempting to play the scary challenge called Burning Sam. Burning Sam was an innocent little boy who lived in a far distant village. It was a very long time ago, so the village was made out of straws and haze. People in the village were always scared of Sam. Why? It's because he had the ability to see into the future. Sam had the ability to know when and how someone was going to die. Because of this, everybody avoided him. Now, in this village lived a priest, a very evil priest that was being controlled by his wife. His wife that he did not know was an evil satanic witch. The witch would cast spells on the priest to corrupt his mind and his purity. But why would the witch do this, you may ask? See, the witch had a plan for the village and the people in it. The witch wanted nothing more but to spill the blood of the innocents in the village so she could bring forth a demon. An ancient demon that is said to bring you power once it's resurrected. The witch tried to spill innocent blood by convincing the priest that Sam was evil and his gift was a gift from Satan himself. But as corrupted as the priest was, he wasn't just gonna believe everything out of her mouth. So the witch casted a spell upon the town. A spell that will take away the rain, dry up all the rivers, rot all the corn and the crops, and get everybody sick. When that started to happen, the priest actually believed that Sam was evil and the child of Satan himself. So they all gathered their pitchforks and went for Sam. Sam didn't even try to run because he knew his fate. Sam stood up to them and said, "I will not die today. I will not die today." But that didn't stop them. They brought him to the stake and burned him alive. While Sam was frying on the stake, the rain started and washed away what was left of the fire. The people couldn't believe their eyes. He was still alive. He was not wrong. He wasn't gonna die today. Some people would say that God sent the rain to save Sam, but others would say that the ritual worked and now the rain is coming back to the town and the village. They didn't care that Sam was alive. They wrapped him up in bandages and threw him in the dungeon. Sam couldn't move nor talk anymore. If you're wondering what happened to Sam's parents, well, let's just say the witch already took care of them, as in unalived them. Sam lay in his dungeon night and day. The kids would go to his dungeon and say to him, Burning Sam, tell me my fate. How will I go? How will I be unalived?" Remember, he have the gift of knowing when, where, and how. Sam would get so much pleasure from telling the kids. He became cold and evil from being locked up in that dungeon. One night, the devil came to Sam and said to Sam, "Would you like them to feel the pain that you felt? Just repeat the words, yes." Sam said yes. "Would you like them to feel your hate?" Sam said yes. Would you like them to suffer? Sam said yes. So the devil said, will you let me in, Sam? Sam said yes. As the devil proceeded to possess Sam, his whole body became lit on fire, and that fire consumed the whole village. Sam got his revenge, and so forth. Only a few kids escaped that village. Those same kids created a game called Burnin' Sam. You write Sam's name 3 times on 3 different papers and then burn the paper. You burn the first paper, you repeat in the mirror, Burnin' Sam, come and tell me my fate. So on the second paper and the third paper, it says that Sam will come to your house and tell you your fate and exactly how you will be unalived. Okay, this is a really long video. If you made it to the end of the recording, please let me know in the comment section if you want me to play this game on live stream.
I found what I think is one of the creepiest paranormal photos I've seen. I'm just gonna move out of the way immediately. Obviously, you can't see anything, it just looks like a black screen. And this was actually from a tour in the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. And just in case you're not terribly familiar with this is in Louisville, Kentucky, and it is considered to be one of the darkest places in the entire state. Whether you believe in ghosts or if you are a ghost hunter, I mean, if you are going to see a ghost, it's gonna be in a place like this. I remember doing like a ton of research on this place because back when they couldn't keep up with the death toll inside the sanatorium, they had body chutes underneath the building, meaning there were so many bodies that they quite literally had to create a tunnel system to just funnel all of them out of the building. This picture was actually taken by the wife of the original poster. According to that post, it was taken while touring the morgue because you're kind of free to roam around on these tours, and she was completely alone. After being told by guides to brighten your photos, this is what they found. In a room where you were supposedly alone, there appear to be a collection of people, one of which is looking right at you. A lot of people reviewed this photo, including the guide on that tour, and there is still no explanation they can come up with.
This man crawled into a sewage pipe just to spy on women. In 1989, in Japan, a school teacher named Yumi Tanaka came face to face with the most horrifying discovery of her life. Around 5 in the evening, right before heading home, she decided to stop by the restroom. When she walked into a stall, something immediately seemed off. Inside the toilet bowl, she saw a single black shoe. Curious and confused, Yumi decided to take a closer look and peered down into the sewage tank. What she saw there burned itself into her memory forever. Inside the tank, there was a pair of human feet. Yumi screamed, and her co-workers rushed in to help. The police arrived soon after and confirmed that the feet belonged to a man who was trapped inside the tank. Getting him out was anything but easy. They had to call the fire department and use a crane to lift his body out. The victim turned out to be a 26-year-old man named Naoyuki Kano, and his body was covered in fleas. The cause of was hypothermia. He had been inside the pipes for 3 days, having climbed in there on his own to spy on women using the toilet.
This is why you should never watch real exorcism videos, especially when you're by yourself. This story has to do with a jinn. If you guys know anything about jinns, they completely terrify me. And anytime I try to record anything having to do with jinns, I always end up having a lot of technical issues. I have been sitting here for the past 30 minutes trying to get this video out. That just freaked me out. It literally just got really, really quiet, and I heard beeping or ringing coming from this ear, and I could have sworn I heard whispering coming from that way. I'm telling it that it can't stay here. I think I'm gonna tell the story outside. That really freaked me out. It's nice out here anyway, so it's okay. I'm gonna have to burn some Palo Santo in my room later. The person who submitted this wants to be anonymous. I'm gonna go ahead and just read her email. In Islam, we believe that jinns are made out of smokeless fire. When I was 13, I came back from the UK for 3 months with my sister. One night, my mom's cousin's daughter decided to show us real Islamic exorcisms videos on YouTube. This was her way of her trying to entertain us. There was this one particular video that was in black and white, and the moment I saw the video, I automatically felt something. My body automatically went cold. From that moment forward, I couldn't sleep and I could not be upstairs by myself. I constantly felt like something was watching me. We ended up moving back to Pakistan after 3 years of being in the UK, and the whole time I was in Pakistan, I didn't feel anything. Then one night, my mom put the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and from the moment that video went on the screen, I automatically felt uneasy. All of the feelings that I had felt when I watched that black and white exorcism video automatically came back. I was in the basement one night ironing clothes when the iron continued to shock me. Then out of nowhere, I hear this male voice cackling, almost like it was laughing. At first I thought maybe it was one of my cousins, but when I checked around the house, there was no one home. There was no explanation as to where this male laughing was coming from. That's when the whispering began. I want to say that that's what I heard downstairs when I was trying to record this video, her whispering. But she says that's when the whispering began. It wasn't in any particular language, but it just kept whispering in her ear, and she could sometimes even hear it say the words, "Help me." Anytime I would try to read the Quran, I would slur my words, and it was almost like I couldn't focus, and I would get these like flashes in my head of just like very demonic things happening. My dad gave me, I'm gonna put it right here, for protection, but it didn't work. One night I had a dream that I was being dragged by some sort of entity, at which point my family decided to take me to a woman that specializes in jinns, and she said that a jinn had attached itself to me in the UK when I watched that black and white footage. She gave me another one of those, and that one actually ended up working. But years later, she ended up going back to Pakistan. The moment she hit Pakistan, everything started again. The one night she's sleeping, she gets paralyzed and she feels this heaviness on her chest, and she can hear a woman kind of like whispering something in her ear. The next morning, her aunt said that she also had an experience where she woke up in the middle of the night and saw this tall man that wore a turban just standing there staring at his hands, like right in front of her bed. She has never been the same since, but it's been years since she has had an experience. It was a struggle, but she finally found peace, and every day she thanks God for not having any experiences. But this is her words, believe her when she says that sometimes videos online are not just videos, and you should always be very cautious as to what you entertain in your home.
Let me tell you about the time I had a stalker, or at least I think I did. Hell, I still might, I don't know. 3 or 4 years ago, I was living in an apartment complex, and it was just me and my 2 kids. In the back of my apartment, there were 2 big glass doors. You could see right through them into my apartment, so I would keep these big curtains hung over them at all times. Not only for like peeping toms, but I live in the Appalachian Mountains, and if you live here, it's a rule that you keep your curtains closed after dark. If you know, you know. If not, check out my other videos. One day I was outside doing some gardening, and one of my neighbors came up to me and was like, "Hey." And they were like, "Did you know that every night around 2 or 3 a.m. there's this man that comes out of the woods, and he comes up to your back door and looks in your apartment through your windows?" They said they just sat on their back porch and watched him silently every night, but this night they decided to approach him, and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the guy who they said had a hoodie up over his head got scared and ran off into the woods. I was like, "What do you mean there's a guy that comes out of the woods every night at 2 to 3 a.m. and looks into my back doors, and you never thought to tell me?" Anyways, a week goes by, or maybe 2, and I'm sitting on the couch in my apartment. It was like 2 or 3 a.m. I was getting ready to go to bed. I had already turned off the TV and turned off all the lights. I just hadn't gone upstairs yet because I was sitting there scrolling on my phone. As I'm sitting there, I hear my back screen door open quietly, and it made a very distinct screeching sound, and I knew that that's what it was. So I immediately look over in that direction, and I watched the doorknob turn. Luckily, my door was locked because I cannot even imagine what would have happened if it hadn't been. I heard the screen door quietly close back. I was so scared the rest of the night. I don't know why I didn't call the police, but I did not at this time. I could not sleep. I was trying to play it off to me just being crazy or whatever, but at this point, I was getting really concerned. So another week or so go by, and it's like 10:30 at night, and my boyfriend is supposed to be on his way over to my apartment. Somebody started knocking on the door. I assumed it was him. I didn't even look through the peephole. I just opened the door. There was a man standing about halfway down my walkway. He has on sneakers, blue jeans, and like a Kinetic t-shirt, and he's holding a clipboard. Mind you, it's like 10:30 at night, so it's pitch black dark outside. I was really thrown off, so I was just like, "Can I help you?" He goes, "Yeah, there's been a report. There's a problem going on with your internet," and he insisted that he needed to come inside and check it out. First of all, I don't have Kinetic internet. That was the first red flag. Also, it was like 10:30 or 11 at night and dead ass dark outside. Who does a work order at 10:30 at night? I told him no thank you and closed the door, and I called the police and made a report, and I don't live there anymore.
Scary story time, Men in the Attic edition. I get sent a lot of Men in the Attics, and it's kind of creepy, but try to activate the slime with me because I suck at making slime. So this man moves his entire family to the other side of the country. It always starts like that, right? Now, they move into this old Victorian home that was built back in like the 1920s. And very quickly into moving in, basically the first week, the wife starts noticing these weird tapping noises. And the husband is trying to tell her like, "Yo, like chill, like it's an old house, you know, old houses make weird noises." I hate when people say that. But yeah, he tells her this, and nonetheless, she kind of stops tripping about it because this noises stop. until 3 weeks later, and now they're not hearing tapping, they're hearing footsteps above their head. So now this is really freaking the mom out, and she's like, no, like, this is weird, like, we have to do something about this. And then again, the kids are like, it's an old Victorian house, like, there's probably ghosts. So one day the daughter is outside chilling with her brother, and the brother goes, what, like, there's a window up there, that means there has to be an attic. So basically, get off of my hand, I'm getting overstimulated. So the kids bring this to the dad's, like, you know, perspective? No. Attention. And so he goes, okay, yeah, there has to be an attic, and that's probably where the weird noise, you know, is coming from. It's probably mice or raccoons or whatever up there. So they could not find the door to the attic. They asked the freaking real estate agent. They looked over old blueprints of the house, and this door to the attic seemed to be pretty much useless. They couldn't find it, so they just kind of forgot about it. Up until a month later, when the daughter hears a weird noise, okay, in her closet. And so she goes and tells her brother, and the brother goes to see what the noise is, and they notice that there's a door, okay, like, kind of, I can't even explain it, but there's a door in her closet. And so they get the parents, and the parents go up there. Y'all, there was a man in the, basically above the daughter's bedroom. And the attic, like, spans across the whole, like, all of their bedrooms, basically. It's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, okay, I'm telling y'all how the story was told to me. So it goes above all of their bedrooms, and so he literally just had a full-on, basically, master bedroom in the attic. And he had food, he had stolen clothes from them, like, y'all, he was up there. The police came and they arrested him, and the amount of stories that are like this, that are real, are insane. Get off of my hand. It's definitely starting to activate more, but, like, goodness gracious, look, it turned into a monster. Okay, I can't. I'm overstimulated.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window break?
Let's read some more scary Reddit stories. When I was 8, I had a friend spending the night one night. It was super late and we were playing Barbies in the living room. I then suddenly got the feeling like we were being watched. I looked to my right, and there in the window stood a man. I remember everything about him till this day. This was a little over 20 years ago. He was a white man. I could tell because he was wearing a short-sleeved dark blue t-shirt that had a little pocket on the chest. His arms were very hairy. He also wore black gloves and a black ski mask. He had his hands cupped on either side of his face to block any glare from the streetlights to get a better view of us. I yelped and curled into a ball. My friend saw him and did the same thing. She asked me what we were going to do. I said, at the count of 3, we're going to run upstairs and get my dad. I got to 2 and took off. My friend was right behind me. We barged into my dad's room to tell him. He leapt out of bed and ran outside, but the guy was gone. Found out years later that there was a rapist on the loose in the area at the time. When I was like in 4th or 5th grade, I lived with my mom and her girlfriend in a 2-bedroom apartment. Well, we had strange things sort of happen around the house, but I was young, imaginative. One day we woke up, well, rather my mom's girlfriend woke up, and soon I was being shaken awake. What the fuck did you do to the kitchen? I was like, I stay in my room pretty much all the time. She yanks me out of bed and drags me by my arm to the kitchen. My mom is standing in the doorway of their bedroom right next to mine. I look and see cocoa powder all over the counter, like Nesquik. Now, we were pretty fucking poor back then, like my meal at school was 75% of what I got to eat in a day. I swore up and down I didn't do it, but as soon as I got closer, there were little handprints all in the cocoa, smearing and smacking it everywhere, on the cupboards, the fridge. It was on the floor even, with little footprints. My hands were clean, my feet were clean, but I was the only child in the house, and they sure as hell didn't think someone broke in, or hell, not even a ghost. What if it was like a little gnome or something that broke into y'all's house? Like a little duende. That's creepy. I had just moved to a new city and was living on my own for the first time. I worked late night shifts at my job and rode a bike home a fair distance. It was about 1 a.m. and I was riding my bike home when I began to approach the local elementary school. The school was on the opposite side of the street, lit up from the inside with those orange lights they turn on at night. As I began to approach the school, I noticed something strange. I couldn't really make it out, but something seemed off. I stared hard, squinting to see it better as I got closer and closer. Then, as the school was directly across from me, I saw
A little girl standing inside the school, staring out the door at me. I flipped my shit and pedaled my ass off. After a few moments, I kinda got a grip and looked back over my shoulder, and there she was, standing on the sidewalk staring at me. I rode home like a bat out of hell and avoided that street like the plague for weeks. At about 2 a.m., our neighbor rang our doorbell and was banging on the door. My dad opened the door and she said something about her brother, who was mentally handicapped, unaliving her parents and locking her in the closet. He thought she was just having a nightmare, but it turns out she was telling the truth. Cops were called. The guy is in the insane asylum now. Neighbor still lives in that house. I was walking with my older brother one night. We were returning from a game he had had. It was probably about 9 or 10 p.m. at the time. I was maybe 10. For some perspective, I'm now 18 going on 19. We were approaching the apartment building I live in and we saw a figure. He was probably the size of an average man. Not surprisingly, the darkness conceals his upper body, including his face. We stopped dead in our tracks. Usually security guards patrol the grounds at this time, but their rounds start at 11. This really shouldn't have scared us, but he started to run toward us. I mean sprint. He was running really, really fast at us. My older brother screamed at me to run. He chased us for an entire length of a street until my older brother told me to go under a fence that is arching above the ground, perfect for our sizes. We were scared shitless as we saw him try to climb over the fence, but luckily we were very close to home. A week later, we found out that a child went missing the night after we escaped. To this day, the child was never found. I worked as a security guard for a mall. I was stuck with the night shift. The car was broken, so I rode a bike around the outside of the mall. It was about midnight when I heard someone yelling for help and waving his arms towards me. I pedaled like a fucking madman to get over to him. He looked 17 and was poorly dressed for the season. It was winter. I ask what's wrong and he tells me, my friend won't get up. So I say, all right, let me call someone. I reached for my phone to call 911, but then the guy grabbed onto me and another man came out of the bushes near us with a pew-pew pointed to my head. Long story short, I got mugged at pew-pew point while they handcuffed me with my own handcuffs. I thought I was going to get great. I was in the Grand Canyon a few weeks ago camping in a tent with some friends. Around 11, I was still awake but everyone else was asleep, and suddenly some woman started screaming from what sounded like a few campsites over. They weren't joking around or they were very good actors. They sounded terrified. They screamed for about 10 seconds, at first 2 or 3 of them, then eventually just one. The screaming stopped and I heard someone much closer to our tent start running, then a car door slammed but the car never started. No one else woke up and I was too scared to move even to get my phone. I didn't fall asleep until the sun was coming up. And that is why I don't go camping, y'all.
The person who submitted the story is still haunted by this experience. I suggest that you stay until the end because it has a crazy twist. Robert had been a taxi driver for a few years. He would typically only work at night because the whole taxi thing was sort of like a side gig for him. One night, just like any normal night, he picked up a woman that was standing on the side of the road. This is not gonna go where you think it's gonna go. The woman sat in the back seat and she was super quiet and just kind of kept to herself. She gave him the address and he went ahead and headed to that destination. The whole drive there, the woman just kind of kept to herself, didn't really say much. Once Robert got to the destination, it was like a grocery store. The woman gets out, says thank you, and she walks off. As Robert's making his way back into the city to see who else he can pick up, he starts to hear the faint sounds of a baby crying. Robert pulls over to try to figure out where the crying baby's coming from. In his mind, he's thinking that maybe somebody left a baby abandoned like on the bushes somewhere, like on the side of the road. So he's like looking out the window trying to figure out where the sound is coming from until he realizes that the sound is actually coming from inside his car, from the back seat. He quickly gets out, goes to the back seat and sees a box. It's like a very decent sized box wrapped in plastic. He is frantic, thinking that maybe somebody had wrapped a baby in a box and had left it in his back seat. He rips the box open when he sees it's a dead bird, like a dead, rotted bird. It was literally covered in maggots. He, of course, freaks out and throws the box, and then the crying stops. That whole experience completely freaked him out because he had no idea like what it even meant, that he decided to take a couple days off from driving his taxi at night. When he finally decided to go back to driving his taxi, one of his first customers was a mom and a baby. The baby was probably about 3 years old. From the moment the mom and the baby sat in the back seat, the baby started crying hysterically. It was almost as if he was like in pain. The mom couldn't even understand why he was crying so much. She kept apologizing and saying that he wasn't like this a minute ago. She doesn't understand why he's crying so much. And the baby just kept complaining, saying that he could see something on the floor, like at the floor of the car. He kept pointing down to the floor, saying that there was something really scary that was down there. Of course, when they were checking, look, there was nothing scary on the floor of the car, so they didn't understand why he kept crying. Finally, they got to the destination of where the woman was going. The woman gets out and the baby automatically stops crying the minute it gets out of the car. That definitely threw Robert off a little bit, but it wasn't until his next customer sat in the back seat. It was an older woman, probably like in her late 60s. The moment she sat in the back seat, she looked at Robert and said, I don't know if you believe in any of this, but your car has very negative energy. Like, I can feel it. And she goes and shows him like her arm, and she's like, look, I have goosebumps. Like, your car has something really, really dark in it. She suggests for him to either get the car cleansed or to get rid of it altogether, because whatever dark energy was in that car wanted him. Being that the whole dead bird thing had just happened a couple days earlier, the crying baby, and now this woman telling him about the dark energy in his car, he took it seriously. After he dropped her off, he decided that he was done for the night. He says as he was driving home, he felt like at any moment he was gonna crash. Like, he can't explain it. He just feels like at any moment he was gonna lose control of the car and he was going to crash. Thankfully, he made it home, but the next day he did go to a priest and tell them the situation. The priest went ahead and confirmed exactly what the lady had told him. The priest told him, you do in fact have a very dark entity in your car. So the priest went out there and started to spray holy water and started to like pray over the car. When they started to spray the holy water on the car, they could hear the crying baby. The baby crying came back. The more holy water they threw on the car, the louder and louder the crying got, but it never stopped. The priest then told Robert, listen, you're gonna have to just get rid of this car. Like, I was not able to get rid of whatever was in the car. You're gonna have to just get rid of it. Robert decided to take it to a junkyard and sold the car for parts. Like, he didn't want anyone else to ever drive it, so he just sold the parts of the car and was hoping that that was going to be the end of it. Not long after he did that, he received a phone call from his ex-wife. She tells him, it doesn't matter that you got rid of the car. That thing is attached to you now. So essentially, they had gone to a very nasty divorce, and her retaliation was to send the first woman to do brujeria on him. That was the dead bird. That was something that was left there for him. Desperate, Robert decided to turn to the church again, and for months he prayed and confessed and worked with the priests, and they pretty much did anything they possibly could to try to get rid of whatever this thing was that was now attached to him. It was a really long process. Like, a lot of crazy dark things happened to him while he was trying to get rid of this thing, but eventually it did finally lift off of him. But even now, still now, this happened years ago, there are some nights where if he happens to be home alone, he can swear to hear the faint crying of that baby.
So the picture behind me is depicting some creepy police sketches, and one of them is a little off. Number 8 is actually a sketch of a leprechaun spotted in Mobile, Alabama. But I want to know, which one of these scares you the most? Which one is more uneasy? I don't know. I feel like number 2, I'm just like looking at it and I'm just like, oh, I wouldn't want to encounter that in real life. Looks like some sort of humanoid trying to blend in as a human. I believe number 4 is associated with Celine Delgado Lopez. She was some sort of mystery woman on this news television about true crime. But I believe it's also associated with some Louisiana killer. Is number 3 a biker? And who drew number 1's hair? That doesn't seem possible. Number 5, definitely really scary, giving me American Horror Story vibes. Number 6 isn't too bad. Number 7 definitely looks a little menacing. As we talked about, 8 is the leprechaun spotted in Mobile, Alabama. And 9, low-key looks like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson with some hair. Let me know which one of these police sketches are your favorite. If you guys have a favorite police sketch, comment below, let me know. And as always, these videos are for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Y'all ever hear voices right when you're about to fall asleep? You're right in that moment where you're drifting off, and then suddenly you're just startled awake. Last night it happened to me about 5 or 6 times in a row. It was a man's voice, and he sounded a bit angry. I couldn't tell where it was coming from, maybe the basement. I could tell he was being loud even though it was really muffled and it was at a distance. The first time it happened last night, he just called out, "Hey!" The second time was the same. He said, "Hey," again, but it was drawn out. It was like, "Hey!" That scared the ever-loving shit out of me. From there, it just got progressively more guttural and growly. It's like he was just screaming. But every time I just kept telling myself that I was drifting off and I was just starting to dream. If you're not familiar with my page, my house is haunted, and this is the least of the weird shit I've experienced in the last couple months. One example you can see in one of my other TikToks is this clock started working a couple days ago and it had never worked before. I know y'all were telling me that I shouldn't have mirrors pointed towards my bed. I still haven't moved them. I wouldn't know where in the hell I'd put them. Let me know if that sort of thing's ever happened to you before. It happens to me quite a bit, especially since we moved into this house.
I don't even know how to warn you about this story because I feel like every child has a stuffed animal. I'm not exaggerating when I say that when I heard this story, it scared the fuck out of me. So if your child has a stuffed animal like a cat, yeah, you might not want to listen to this one. This lady says that when her daughter was little, she was gifted this stuffed animal. It was a cat and it was pink. It was really cute and her daughter loved it. One day that stuffed animal got lost and the lady was saying how she thought her daughter was going to be crying and really upset about it, but she wasn't. She thought that maybe her daughter stopped liking it so much, so one day she decided to ask her about it. And this is what their mom says that the daughter said. He didn't get lost, Mom, he just became invisible, but he says because he doesn't have eyes and arms, you would be scared if he let you see him. Interesting. She said that when her daughter told her that, she got goosebumps, but she was like, she's just little, she's making things up. However, with time, she explains how she started to feel like if she was being watched. She also explains that the minute she started to feel like she was being watched, immediately her daughter would come into the room and be like, oh look Mom, the stuffed animal's there right behind you. Is it right behind me? Other times she would feel like she was being watched. Her daughter would be in the room with her and just turn around and be like, oh look, he's outside the window. So one day, as she was making dinner, she felt that sensation again, like she was being watched. And in that very moment, she also felt as if something was biting her back. Obviously, she reacted to that bite and she wasn't even done reacting to being bitten when her daughter comes into the kitchen and screams, no, we don't bite Mom. We don't bite Mom. We don't bite Mom. She immediately goes to the mirror, looks at the spot, and she did have like a red mark on her back. That mark within days turned into a bruise. When her husband saw that mark on her back, he thought that their daughter bit the mom because it looked like a little tiny circle on her back, like a child's bite mark. She explains that she went, got holy water, put holy water all around her home, and never heard about this teddy bear cat again. Her daughter also stopped mentioning this stuffed animal, and she says that she never felt like she was being watched again. Bitch, this story has me over here side-eyeing my Sanderson sister stuffies. Anyway, what do you guys think? So this guy says that he is a big believer in the paranormal. In 2019, both his wife and the daughter died while the mom was trying to give birth to the baby. He requested that they be buried together, the mom holding the baby in her arms. Says that the viewing started at 8 p.m. and ended around 9:30. Everyone gave him their condolences and then they all left him alone. Once everyone left, he said that he decided to clean up, and the only thing in his mind was how he has stayed in this world alone. He had gone out to take the trash, and on his way back is when he started to hear knockings. He started looking around once he went in because he thought maybe someone had left something behind and they were coming for it, so he headed towards the door. He went to the door and there was nobody, so he started to look around and thought maybe it was a dog or a cat or some sort of animal. He even thought maybe it was the neighbor like hammering something to a wall, and that was when he heard it again. He heard like somebody was knocking, but this time he was so close to the coffin where his wife and baby were that he realized that those knockings were coming from inside that coffin. He admits that he opened that coffin up thinking that they were alive, but when he did, they were definitely still dead. He said that it was really hard for him to go to bed that night, but he did end up going to bed and falling asleep, but also ended up getting woken up by the sound of knockings again. He immediately grabs his phone and notices that it's 3 in the morning, and he started to try to unlock the phone to turn the flashlight on. It was in that moment where he heard the cry of a newborn baby at the foot of his bed. He said he felt a cold chill down his back and his hands were like not able to move. He said his heart started beating so fast, especially once he started to feel something underneath the blanket with him. Something something very cold, and it was a tiny body. He believes that it was his baby, and in that moment with his shakily fingers, he finally was able to unlock his phone. He turns on the flashlight, and in that very moment was when those baby cries just stopped. He pointed the flashlight to the foot of the bed, and he swears for like a split second he saw his wife with the gown from the hospital with the baby in her arms. He is unsure why, but in that very moment his phone just completely died, and when it did, he stayed in the darkness and those baby cries just started sounding again. However, he says that the cries were no longer coming from his bedroom. He can hear how they were coming from inside of the coffin. He said that he doesn't even know how he did this, but he turned on the light from the bedroom and headed towards where the coffin was. He opened up the coffin again, and he says that they were still in there. However, he explains that his wife's facial features changed, that for some reason she looked like she was scared. Side note, I know that you guys are like, what do you mean the dead wife and baby are in his house? Well, typically in Mexico they have a viewing, and the bodies stay in the houses where the viewings are, and the following days when they go and bury the bodies. Sometimes they do it the same day, but in his case the viewing was at nighttime. They were all going to wait for the morning to go and bury them. Back to the story. He says that he paid a little more attention to his wife's face because again her facial features had changed, and he could tell that she had tears like had rolled down her cheeks. He said that he couldn't go to bed that night, but it was only a few more hours before the people would come and they would have to go and bury his wife and daughter. When his family showed up, he went to the door and begged them to pray over them because something weird was happening. He believes that they weren't ready to go and that they didn't want to go. His family accepted without even a doubt or question, and they started praying over the wife and daughter. An hour later, the people came to get the coffin, and of course they had to transfer the coffin from inside the house to that, oh my god, what is it called, that car, that thing where you put the coffin in. Anyway, when they had picked up the coffin because they had to transfer it, every single person heard when something from inside the coffin was knocking. Like, I know it's his like a wife and daughter, but I'd been so terrified. Not because of the knockings necessarily, because first of all, if that happened to me, I was home alone, I can lie to myself and be like, that didn't happen, I'm grieving, no way they knocked. But the fact that something would knock in front of his family and everyone just confirms what happened to him that night, that's what would scare me more. He says that they all heard 2 knocks coming from the coffin when they were trying to move it, and as soon as he heard that, he just says, I told you they don't want to leave. They went ahead and put the coffin, took it to the cemetery, and once they were at the cemetery, they heard the knockings again. He said that his family didn't even question it, they just all started praying again over and over. That wasn't even the end of it. Like, after they finished praying, the guys were putting the coffin down, and they were very steady, they weren't like moving it crazy, and he says how they all saw the coffin just turn to its side, and every time they would try to straighten it up, it would do the same thing again. He says that one of the men who worked at the cemetery told him to talk to his wife, and he did. He says that he told his wife to let the men do their job and that she had to go. He also told his wife that one day they'll meet again and that he would enjoy his wife and the baby. He also asked her to find peace with everything that happened and that he loved them so much, and again, that was like when they finally were able to put her down in that grave. He ended up going home and he admits that every day that passes, he just feels like there's a void, like there's something missing from his life, but he has learned to move on because one day he'll see them again. I feel like this is so sad, but also a little scary, a little tiny bit scary, okay? But what do you guys think?
I came across a video of the hospice nurse that says that she believes that she saw the Green Reaper in her patient's room. The very next day, that patient ended up passing away. This reminded me of my own Green Reaper story. I have multiple because I worked in a trauma center for 6, maybe 7 years overnight. So we had a lot of people coming in that were probably not gonna make it, and I saw a lot of craziness just being super sensitive. One of the ones that really stands out to me the most is this girl that came in as a trauma. She actually had OD'd and they were working on bringing her back. When they finally did bring her back, she was screaming, saying that there was something in the room that kept staring at her and that she was terrified. Being that she had just come back from being OD'd, everyone just assumed that she was hallucinating, but I could see exactly what she was talking about. What she was talking about looked kind of like this, and it was sitting there laughing and mocking her, waiting for her, like it wanted to take her. They ended up having to sedate her and tie her down to the bed because she wouldn't stop screaming about how she did not want to go with this thing. The next day when I came back in for my shift, I found out that she had actually passed away. My second encounter with the Grim Reaper had to do with this elderly lady that was brought in from one of the senior citizen homes. She actually had passed away right before I started my shift. So they brought her in probably around 9:45 p.m. I started my shift at 10 p.m. So when I came in, she had already passed. I had no idea that she had passed away. Typically when a patient passes away in the ER, they put a sign on the front door, but since she had just passed away, like there wasn't anything there. And when I logged in and noticed that her room needed to be done, like I worked in registration, I saw that her room needed to be registered. I just grabbed my computer and went straight to her room. I walked into the scariest thing that I had ever seen. If you have ever seen the movie The Ring and you remember how the people's faces get whenever they see the girl, I forgot her name, the girl with the long hair, that's exactly what this lady's face looked like terrified. Like that of course startled me, and I kind of look over to my right, and that's when I see it, this like giant black thing with a hood kind of like hunched over her, like just there. I literally like backtracked out of the room and I kind of shut the curtains, and I was so shaken up. Like I didn't even know how to like react. Like I walked over to one of my coworkers and I'm like, what happened in there? They're like, oh no, I can't believe you walked into that room. She actually just passed away. And I'm just like in shock. And I stayed in shock for the rest of the night. I felt like the Grim Reaper that was in there, because there's multiple, the Grim Reaper that was in there saw me and I wasn't supposed to see it, and it was kind of like following me that whole night. It was so creepy. I have a bunch of other Grim Reaper stories. Let me know if you guys want to hear more.